Hello, algoriters. Happy Monday, the day before Election Day. And be sure to get up on tomorrow if you have not early voted and cast your ballot. This is a very important election. And I'm going to use my platform tonight to encourage everyone, regardless of who you vote for, to get out and vote. Do not forget to vote. It's very important to vote. All right, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm your judge, Al Reynolds, and today we're diving into legal battles that have captured headlines and divided public opinion. And when I say divided, I do mean divided. I'm joined here by esteemed legal experts who I call my legal beagles, and we will break down the celebrity cases we're discussing, helping you navigate the legal landscape and understand the pitfalls to avoid not only what they should not have done, but if you're in a similar case, things that you should not have done. So let's welcome our legal beagles. First up, we have that fiery attorney, civil attorney, Chaton Turner. Chaton Turner, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion.
Hey, Your Honor. Hey, algoriters. Excited to be here in advance of my birthday tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So you're a day after Diddy.
I don't like to associate anything after Diddy, but yes, I am.
All right, so you are the day of election in which hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have our first Black female president.
Absolutely. And I'll be actually working the polls tomorrow for voter protection to ensure that there's no funny business and everybody in the precincts I'm covering who has the right to vote is able to vote. So,
all right, algorithm, you heard it from her. You heard it from her first. Be sure to throw that fire emoji in the chat to represent that fiery civil attorney, Chaton Turner. Also joining us tonight, straight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, our criminal defense attorney, Brian Ross. Oh, is it Christmas? Brian Ross is back with us here in the Court of Public Opinion. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ron. It feels good to be 21 years old. 21 years old.
21 years old. 25 times.
Terrible, just terrible.
Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Don't forget to drop those briefcase emojis in the chat for that criminal defense attorney, Brian Ross, who also has the same birthday as P. Diddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is birthday today.
How did I know that?
I think you knew that. All right, and last but not least, one of our new legal beagles, the civil attorney, Shawn Carter, also known as the humorist at law, Esquire Carter. Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm laughing just looking at you.
How you doing, Judge? It's not my birthday today, this week. And by the way, let's be clear, Chaton, you get one day. All right, tomorrow you enjoy it. You're not doing your birthday month, your birthday 6 months. All right, you get one day like the rest of us. You're cuter than most of us, but you get one day. All right.
And his emoji is a laugh emoji. Attorney Carter, your volume is a little low. If you can, please turn it up. If not, get closer to your mic. All right, everybody, be sure to hit that like button. We got a great show for you tonight. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button. My subscribers has been the same for the last couple of months, and I need some help. So please be sure to hit that share button and invite some friends to join to watch this very creative, fun, and educational show. Also, turn on your notifications because this Wednesday, the show is changing its name. That's right. This Wednesday, the show is changing its name, and we're going to become Celebrity Court. We're going to become Celebrity Court by the Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. My apologies. Yes, you heard me correctly. Starting this Wednesday, the show will be changing its name to Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And we got a whole lot of fun stuff that we're going to be introducing this week and next week. And we want to know if you like it because we want to get you more involved in the show and participating. All right, don't forget to turn on those notifications and be sure to jump down in those comments because as always, we love hearing from you. First up, Lyle and Eric Menendez. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. These two brothers were convicted in 1996 of the 1989 murders of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their rich mansion in Beverly Hills. They claimed they acted in self-defense due to years of alleged physical and sexual abuse by their father. But this argument was contested by the prosecution. Despite 2 mistrials, both were eventually found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Their case was notable for its intense media coverage and the psychological abuse defense. I'm going to throw to our criminal defense attorney, Brian Ross. Brian, I got a question. How do you go from being sentenced to prison, life in prison without parole, to now they are possibly walking out of the jailhouse as early as next year?
Truth of the matter is, Judge, times have changed. Things have changed. Back in the 90s, there wasn't this overwhelming sensitivity that people who have mental health or sex abuse issues. But unfortunately, as what we see, a lot of things happen through the Catholic Church, and we learned a lot. Well, these 2 young men, adults now, are byproducts of that learning. So they're in California. They're convicted of first-degree murder of both of their parents, but some evidence, especially a letter published, it says, my dad keeps coming into my room every night. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what to do. This evidence of sex abuse was the basis of their defense during their trial both times. They were convicted of murder and sentenced to life without no chance of parole. So now, because new evidence has come to light, they have to re-sentence them to 50 years. They've been in prison for 34 of them. And now they're eligible for parole. And I think that the deal is already done. I think they're going to get parole pretty fast.
God, Attorney Carter, tell me this, though, because from what I understand, because of the changes under SB 1391, they've encouraged reevaluation of cases involving defendants under 26 years old. What is that all about? And why did they choose the age 26? Because it's just so convenient that these 2 guys right here happen to both be under 26.
Yeah, I mean, that might have had something to do with it. I'm sure there's a concept that, we give young people a little more grace than older people. I mean, I'm not exactly sure why they said it, because 26 is a weird number, right? You think 21,
25.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure exactly what that's about. I do know why these 2 individuals have had this happen to them or had the resentencing done. It's because they got a documentary. All right. If you want to get out of jail, you got to get a documentary. All right? There were 2 in the last 2 years. Seriously, Menendez plus Menudo, which actually talked a lot about the situation because the father allegedly also abused one of the kids in Menudo. And then this year, my wife was watching it, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story.
Yes.
If you get a Netflix documentary, you usually get to get out of jail.
Well, I tell you this, I watched both the Monsters one. I watched both of the ones that were on because there were 2 separate documentaries on Netflix. One of them definitely conjured up a lot of empathy. The other one showed more of what they did after they killed him, which was a whole lot of partying, a whole lot of drugs, a whole lot of buying luxury items, a whole lot of what looks like to me them celebrating the death of their parents. Attorney Turner, what are your thoughts on this particular case? And what are your thoughts as it surrounds, using a documentary to shift public sentiment?
Well, I have a few comments. 1 about the partying, 2 about the 26, because I think I have some insight on that, and then the public sentiment. The first thing about the partying is, if you believe this to be true, that they were being sexually abused and tormented by both of their parents for a number of years, they had a lot to party about, right? So they probably were celebrating, like it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz after the Wicked Witch of the West died, right? It's like, damn them. I don't know that to be true, but I imagine that that's what their attorneys are saying. As it relates to 26, fun fact, I always have these random ones. So the brain isn't fully developed, especially the prefrontal cortex, until the mid-20s. And so what the California law seems designed to do is to actually hold those accountable who are fully developed humans, which are those over 26, and then under 26 show them grace because they don't really have the impulse control and the other things that the frontal lobe of the brain tends to cover. So I suspect that that's why they chose 26 as opposed to 18 and 21. In many respects, 18 and 21 are the more arbitrary ages for adulthood, but 26 seems to be what they're rallying around now. And
So
if you look, oh, sorry.
No. So let me understand. You can drive a car that can fatally kill someone. You can purchase a gun that can fatally kill someone. You could drink and until and do bad things, but you can't. You have to be 26 in order to be charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
To serve life, yes.
To serve life.
That is what they're saying, and so I think actually a lot of people would object to probably not those of us who started drinking at 21 would object to the 21-year-old thing, but a lot of people think that 18-year-olds shouldn't be allowed to enter into contracts and shouldn't be allowed to go to war and all these things that we've associated with adulthood historically. And yet that's the number that we have because of other constraints. Like parents don't want to be responsible for their kids much beyond 18. And some of them kick them out right at 18.
Right.
But you asked another question about the public sentiment. So I think that Attorney Ross actually nailed it. When this was tried initially, there was a lot less known about how chronic sexual abuse affects people. And that's
especially young boys.
Right.
Same sex. I think the biggest thing with this one, if I can remember, the reason why I had much more, much more heartstrings towards this was because it was the dad sexually abusing both of their sons. And then the graphicness of the sexual abuse of him using objects to allegedly, quote, open them up to prepare for him is probably what gave me much more empathy than I normally would. Attorney Carter, let me ask you this. If these 2 young boys were young Black men from not so wealthy means, do you think this would still be the case right now of them walking out of the jailhouse in January?
Probably not. And that's unfortunate. That doesn't mean that necessarily these 2 shouldn't get out, but no. I mean, that wouldn't work. Normally the documentaries work the other way for us. So for instance, if you're R. Kelly, you get a documentary, it doesn't work for you, you go to jail. Matter of fact, think about it. Without that documentary, Surviving R. Kelly, he would be doing, Trapped in the Closet, part 238 by now. All right. But instead, he got to go to jail. So documentaries don't work so well for us. But in this case, but it's always the case. And by the way, let me be serious. The problem with this is that our young men are never considered boys. This law, for instance, wants to increase the age to 26 for accountability for certain types of crimes. When we're often charged, our boys are charged as adults for things they do when they're 12 and 13 and 14.
Right.
Which I've never understood the idea that let's pretend you're an adult for this purpose. Well, let's pretend he's innocent, right? You don't get to pretend that someone's an adult. But the bottom line is, for us, it would work way different.
Attorney Ross, you're the criminal defense attorney in one of the highest crime regions in the South. Are you for or against charging young boys as adults, or does it depend on the crime? You're muted.
Supreme Court of the United States determined that people who are minors under the age of 18 have to have a chance at parole. They can't be sentenced to life. The next step up from that is what's called YO. Y period O period stands for youthful offender. These bodies of statutes plan to give young people an opportunity to have a second chance of rehabilitation even after they go to jail. So in my opinion, based upon the evidence, especially the things you've espoused, we're talking about the tools the dad used, which is use it. You want to shoot the dad for that, right? Like,
right?
Really, dude? Definitely shows these men spent way more time in jail than they should have spent. I mean, in my opinion, they shouldn't have gone to jail at all. They should have gone to complete rehabilitation and be given a chance to get out of that.
So we're going to close this out with you, Attorney Turner. As it relates to the second trial, the one where they got convicted, how they were able to not allow any of the initial evidence from the other trials. How were they able to get away with that? Because when I watched the documentary, I wanted to know, how was all of that excluded legally?
what I suspect, I didn't see the documentary, and we were pretty young when the case was tried initially. They do bifurcate parts of trials for various reasons in order to influence how the evidence is going to be tried. So like sometimes in civil cases, which I'm more familiar, they will bifurcate liability from damages. And so what that often means is that for the purposes of the damages discussion, you just presume liability. And from the defendant's perspective, that often leads to a lesser damage amount because the jury doesn't have to sit through and listen to all of the evidence that you need to show to prove that the entity is liable. You don't do that a whole lot unless you're like confident you're going to lose or there's some salacious facts. And so that may be what the prosecution wanted to do during that first time. It's hard to believe that the defendant, that their attorneys would have agreed to it, but sometimes attorneys don't have their best days. And so they may have agreed to it for that reason, and it may not have been to their benefit. One thing that I want to point out, though, is that it's, even though the most kind of egregious or salacious allegations have to do with sexual abuse on the part of the father, there's also allegations that the mom abused them as well. And so the way that it's kind of been portrayed is it was a house of horrors. They got no peace. They weren't able to be children, and they were abused for, a lot of years. And so really the argument is their defense, they've still, as Attorney Ross pointed out, have served 34 years. So it's not like they're getting off scot-free. It's just a question of whether they should be released for time served and not serve life.
Gotcha. All right, everybody. Be sure, if you have not seen the documentary, there are two documentaries on Netflix. One is called The Menendez Brothers, and one is called The Monsters. Be sure to watch both of them so that you can come up with your own conclusion. All right, coming up next, George Stephanopoulos. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Donald Trump's defamation lawsuit against George Stephanopoulos and ABC News focuses on a statement Stephanopoulos made during a March 2024 interview with Representative Nancy Mace. In the interview, Stephanopoulos referenced Trump's 2023 civil case with writer E. Jean Carroll, asserting that Trump was found liable for rape, when in fact the jury only found him liable for sexual abuse and defamation, which are critical legal distinctions. Trump's legal team argues that Stephanopoulos' statement was false, made with actual malice, meaning it was either knowingly false or made with reckless disregard for the truth, which is required to meet the defamation standards involving public figures like Trump. I'm going to throw to you, Attorney Carter, on this particular one, or Attorney Turner, whoever would like to take it. Now, I would think, and I don't know, maybe you guys can teach us the law, if he was not found liable for rape and Stephanopoulos said this, then that seems like defamation to me if he said it and it wasn't correct. Attorney Carter, what say you?
Not really. And here's why. All right. Trump was held liable for sexual abuse, which is different than rape, but not in this case. What I mean by that is that the definition of sexual abuse is a touching someone, all right, in a sexual manner that it's not welcome. Rape is actually sexual intercourse. Now, the allegations from Ms. Carroll were that he actually did, all right, commit rape. They actually, instead, though, because it's easier to prove sexual abuse, right, than rape, especially all these years later. But the idea is that, there's such a closeness between the two, all right? And basically, think of it this way, all right? All rape is sexual abuse, all right? But not all sexual abuse is rape. But in this case, they're one and the same. And you have to prove malice, right, where they actually intentionally tried to lie on the president. And it's easily understandable where they could argue in different stuff. I was just, hey, I didn't go to law school. The furthest I got was, I'm Stephanopoulos. As far as I got with Sesame Street, I didn't know the distinction between the two, right? And therefore, I shouldn't be, we shouldn't lose all our homes and the whole network because of this small distinction. And by the way, you did rape the girl.
Attorney Turner, you mentioned in the chambers, you mentioned an angle that you felt that could keep Stephanopoulos safe. And what angle was that?
Well, it's the point that Attorney Carter made. Like, I agree with him. This whole thing is sexual assault. This sexual abuse is rape light. And the judge mentioned this and I'm sorry, my lighting is acting all wonky. The judge mentioned this in his dicta, which is like the extra words that judges say that don't necessarily carry. They're not the holding in the case. The holding is the decision that the judge makes. And then sometimes the judge just talks. And what the judge said was, because the allegation was that Trump had used his fingers to penetrate her vagina, that was rape. That was rape in these streets. That's rape. And so George Stephanopoulos is going to be like, you know what? The judge called it rape. I'm going to call it rape. And despite the fact that he hadn't been convicted, I think we're really splitting hairs. And the other thing is, right, you have to show that the plaintiff has been damaged in the community because of these comments. And our former president, who is in my city right now, messing up traffic and making speeches, saying a whole lot of stuff, right? He told everybody he liked to grab women by the pussy, and he was proud, right? So I'm really not thinking that his reputation was damaged in these streets because of what Stephanopoulos said. I think this is smoke and mirrors, also just trying to show that people are against him and trying to rig the election.
All right, really quickly, Attorney Ross, talk to me again, because you've said multiple times on this show the difficulty it is in defamation cases, especially public figures and high-profile individuals, especially when statements border on subjective interpretation versus minor factual error. So would this be considered a minor factual error?
No, I mean, remember, Trump has to prove the damages. So what's he going to say? It's not a minor factual error. The judge said in his mind it was the R word, right? But the statute is a little different. So Stephanopoulos, as a reporter, is commenting politically. He's giving political speech, which is highly protected. So he turns around and sues him for that. But I don't know how you're not going to win a political speech argument against him.
And not a defamation?
Not defamation. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's doing this because if he loses the election, he can try and say, well, guess what? Part of the reason I lost is because of X, Y, and Z, and that's George Stephanopoulos. And he'll continue to chase it until the network tries to settle, but it isn't defamation. He's just being Trump.
Got it. All right, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button, because the likes aren't liking. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, invite some of your friends. So share that subscription. Tell some of your friends to come over here and watch the Court of Public Opinion. Also turn on your notifications, because starting this Wednesday, the Court of Public Opinion is turning into Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. And drop down on these comments. And I also forgot our very own civil fiery attorney, Chaton Turner, is competing for the Fab Over 40 to support breast cancer research. The link is right here on the show and will be on the episode. Be sure to vote for our fiery attorney, Chaton Turner. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up, Freddie Gladney III, known as Bankroll Freddy, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Now, he's received a 12-year prison sentence following federal charges related to drug and gun trafficking. Gosh, I'm so tired of saying these. Every week we got a rapper that is facing drug and gun trafficking charges. His arrest, part of a large-scale federal operation, connected him with alleged gang activities in Arkansas, specifically the Everybody Killers, known as the EBK gang. The charges involve marijuana distribution, possession of controlled substances, firearm violations, and using communication tools to further drug trafficking. Prosecutors allege that EBK, along with another gang, was involved in distributing cocaine, crack, meth, and marijuana in collaboration with the rapper's activities. Attorney Chaton, what exactly do they mean? Prosecutors allege EBK, along with other gangs, were involved in distributing cocaine, crack, meth, and marijuana in collaboration with the rapper's activities. Is that his verses?
Well, he is accused of glamorizing a criminal lifestyle through his music. I mean, I think as Attorney Carter said last time, I mean, he's a child of God and he deserves his grace. Okay, now let's talk about his name, right? His name, Bankroll Freddy. I'm just going to start calling myself, double digit Chaton or 7 digit Chaton or something like that. I mean, that seems like something good. And then his group is called, Everybody Killers. Like, that's really kind of proclaiming to the world that we're about that life and we don't give a damn. And so his luck ran out is really what's happened. And so what he's been charged with is that he and his group, I was going to say gang, but they've alleged that they're a gang, right? That's what the prosecution is saying. Had this criminal conspiracy where they were just bad news, doing bad things. And now they want to, he's been convicted. But here's the thing I have to say. It ain't racism, right? Like, I'm the first one to have your back if you're a black man having a rough time, even though Attorney Ross doesn't think so. I support you, but this ain't racism. This is a series of poor decisions that landed him in trouble. And what I suspect happened is that he wasted everybody's time, that the prosecutor was trying to negotiate for some sort of deal. He insisted on trial because he's hinted at this in his comments about saying that this 12-year sentence was personal. And unless he was sleeping with the prosecutor's wife, like, I don't really understand how it was personal, right? But I bet it got personal because he wasn't trying to cooperate. He took it to trial and then he didn't like what he got.
Attorney Carter, let me ask you this. So is this a reminder of potential legal ramifications? Because he's got his criminal activities intertwined into his rapper persona, right? His public persona is one of a gangbanger, of a drug dealer, of carrying weapons. Like, could this impact his career moving forward? Like,
it'll probably make it bigger when he gets out, but he got 12 years to figure that out. The thing that's weird is, there are a lot of times where we wonder if the guy is really about that life. This guy seemed to be about that life. I saw interviews with him where he was talking about, he had money beforehand. Every interview I ever saw he showed up into, he had a big stack, all right, of money in his pocket. And by the way, they don't pay stream, they don't pay stream fees in cash, right? You only get that kind of money out in the streets. And he was very proud of it until this happened. Now, Chaton was saying, this is the important thing is, he says two things. One, the prosecutor took it personally. Yeah, when you don't plead, they always take it personally.
I do.
If you make somebody go to trial, all right, then you're going to get more time, which is why the plea bargain, offers less time. The second part, he said, they gave him 12 years as a first offender. That's a lot. But considering what he was up for, he there was one of his charges had a sentence of 5 years to life. The drug trafficking is 5 to 10 years. By the way, I love this. The use of the phone, right? Sending texts. That's a state, right? That's a federal crime. That's up to 4 years. So 12 years is probably about a reasonable amount. And it just shows that, you can be about that life, but part of that life is you going to prison. That's the big part of that life.
I want to ask you this, criminal attorney Ross. All these guys that have gone to prison, right? Because now these prosecutors, these judges are being allowed to listen to their music, which kind of rings the bell on them. When they come back out of prison and start rapping again, what are they going to rap about?
Nothing.
Because if they start rapping about the same things, aren't they making themselves liable to be locked back up again?
I mean, it's his career is over. We don't rap about nothing. Like exactly what you said. You can't rap about anything else again. And if you do, and you're on parole, you can indict yourself again for something you say, right? So
Right.
the court's opinion is on spot. But I think he got too long of a time. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what side of the fence you're on, society's positions toward marijuana has changed dramatically. So let's suppose he is trafficking in marijuana. Well, it's legal in 36 states. So what's the value of trafficking? That he isn't paying taxes? He did so with a gun. Well, last I checked, the president of the United States is running on a platform of you can have all the guns you want. So unless he shot someone over a marijuana deal or is charged with murder or attempted murder, granted the gang stuff isn't fun, I don't see why he got 12 years in jail with no priors. I think it's too long, especially for marijuana. Now, they said heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl. I get it. But just marijuana, a little too much.
So are they saying that his drug trafficking and all his legal activity was around marijuana? Because that does seem weird. Because I thought marijuana was legal in the state of Arkansas.
I haven't read anything outside of marijuana.
4 pounds. So it may have been is 24.4 pounds of high grade marijuana. A
You
ton
ain't
of
had a low grade marijuana.
No,
You're not
no,
gonna buy the low grade. You gotta have a high grade.
All right. So what about
magazines.
what about the dispensaries?
Well, they actually, what I read is that there was actually a possession of a controlled substance charge, which, gives the impression that it might have been more than just, I think, we said earlier that it was meth and some other things?
No, not this particular case. All of the one I know okay, you're right. EBK though.
Yeah.
EBK were involved in distributing coke, crack, meth, and marijuana in collaboration. But like Brian said, he was found guilty of possessing and distributing marijuana only. And then he was also found this likely involved additional drugs in possession meant for trafficking.
Right, because of the amount.
Okay.
I think it was the magazines and the amount of the drugs, but this is Attorney Ross's jam, not mine. But I think Attorney Ross, you missed something about what his career could entail. I mean, 12 years is a long time to be gone for sure. Hopefully he spends a lot of time working out and coming out with that nice prison body. But he can rap about that.
You need a man, woman.
Let me tell you something. Not to cut you off. You ain't listen, Shawn ain't gonna cut you off ever.
You need a man.
You ain't hanging around some more red wine no more. All right.
I'm not saying I want the prison body, but it's funny. When I was in law school, I had an internship with the EEOC, and I was following this investigator who was like 30 years older than me. And we'd be walking around the streets of Charlotte, and he would see somebody who was like cock diesel. He was like, look at him, look like he just got out of prison. So that's why I was associating with it. Because apparently all you do in prison is work out.
You need to drink some cold water.
No more air.
All right, let's keep it moving. Shawn Diddy Combs, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. His team has requested an expedited gag order to restrict this new group that is trying to sell his sex tapes. All right. The mention of sex tapes, especially if they are discussed publicly by accusers, he feels can severely impact his reputation even before any courtroom proceedings. Attorney Brian Ross, talk to us about this particular case. And bailiff, do we have a video of the lawyer that we saw go on?
Why were you in court tonight?
Just to give.
Wow. So were you surprised, or was that the court that you were kind of waiting for?
Surprise.
Oh. Do you feel like the interview had had anything to do with it, or?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you know Shawn Combs?
Generation. Frank Lucas was my godfather and his father, and then we both was in the music business for 30 years together.
So you personally know him?
Not who personally.
Shawn Combs.
Not personally.
But you know of him. He knows
of
you.
Yeah. I used to be with Tupac, Hussein Fatal. He stopped a lot of my music. A lot of other people who didn't care about him. You understand? That's not around today.
Right. So
Matt Stewart from Def Jam Records.
you made a lot of allegations, right? Are you expected to eventually turn those things over, or
Well, that's what we're going to head over to do now. So we have a hearing now to determine what we're going to do in terms of what documents we'll have to turn over and what documents we do not have.
So why were you in court tonight?
Okay, bailiff, that's good.
interview like
Okay, bailiff, thank you. So this whole thing looks shady to me. I'm sorry. The lawyer looks shady. The guy she's representing looks shady. This all looks like a plant to me. Attorney Ross, give me something here.
I mean, we have to keep saying alleged, don't we? Right?
Yes.
Sean Carter, we got to keep saying alleged. Allegedly, these people have a copy of Diddy having a sex tape. All right. And they want to sell it for a profit. Right. Any network who can get their hands on this is going to pay handsomely for it. What they're going to do with it, I don't know. But they want to buy it. And Diddy's lawyers are saying this can't be sold. If this gets out in the public, we cannot unring the bell. It will stain the public opinion of the defendant, Mr. Combs, and make it impossible for us to pick a fair and impartial jury. We want you, Your Honor, to tell these people who have this alleged tape that they cannot sell it, that they have to gag themselves and stop all the discussions, all the production, all the sales, all negotiations, everything, because we can't get a fair jury. I believe them. I think the court should grant the gag order. I mean, stop it, people. The whole thing looks just like ridiculous to me. It looks ridiculous.
Attorney,
you're wearing an ascot, like it looks ridiculous, man.
Attorney Attorney Carter, not Attorney Carter, sorry, Attorney Turner. Talk to me about if a judge gagged me and told me that I could not make money with this tape that I have, which I know that I can make a significant amount of money. If he gags me to tell me I can't make money, wouldn't I just release the tape?
Not if you didn't want to go to jail, you wouldn't. Yeah, if the judge orders you to refrain from publishing the tape, then that's a wrap unless you want the penalty. So bad things can happen when you defy judge's orders. So I wouldn't recommend it. But I agree with you that these two people who showed up, I mean, one, he keeps quoting all these dead people. I mean, I'm a big fan of Tupac as everybody, but unless you believe that he's in Cuba and he ain't really dead, his connection to Diddy has been long gone for a while. So he talked about Frank Lucas. You know, everybody saw American Gangster. He'd been dead for a long time too. So I'm not really sure about this nexus, but one of the things that I think is interesting, and it's smart that Diddy's lawyers are objecting to the release of this tape. But let's just think about this for a second, just between us friends and the algorators.
Okay.
If it's just a regular, like Kim Kardashian and Ray J sex tape where people are getting a little bit freaky, ain't nobody caring about that coming out and thinking it's going to taint the jury. This is likely some bad ish, right? Like there's all kinds of baby oil, there's midgets, there's animals, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what they're afraid of, is that it is everything that people have been saying happened at these freak offs is memorialized on this tape. And Diddy and his attorneys are probably like, we don't even know who this dude is. Like, he's my brother's cousin once removed, and maybe he used to kick it with my father, but I don't know him. I don't know that lawyer, but we don't know what they have, and we know these tapes exist.
Attorney Carter, what's the purpose of these tapes? I mean, not the purpose of these tapes. Let me rephrase that. What's the purpose of them coming forward, or her coming forward and saying that she has a client who has the tapes, if she knew she was putting her client in a position where a judge could gag her to not be able to use the tapes? What purpose does this serve in any form?
See, that's the part I don't get. I agree with you 100%. What seems to me, if you have the tapes, you sell them to TMZ, whomever, get your money, and then when the judge said, hey, you weren't supposed to do that, you go, oops, my bad, sorry about that. You know, you'd ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Right.
This is also weird because how the heck do you have someone's sex tapes that you never met?
Right.
Yeah, think about that. You never met the person. My mama don't have my sex tapes. All right, you never met somebody. He just hand over the sex tapes to you, really?
Yeah, what is that about? And how did he get privileged? How did he get privileged to get the sex tapes over anybody else that could be defamatory to P. Diddy? And you don't even know him, but you've heard of him for decades. I'm confused as to what is the point for going on national television saying you have a client that has a sex tape. As a lawyer, did you use your mind to think you were going to receive all types of legal cases or suits or filings to stop you being able to use it? Like, what is the thought?
Well, let's not forget about this point, though. People get sloppy, but more than that, people, when they get desperate, rely on
stupidity.
Well, no, on their secret, like cousins who do favors for them because they don't mind going to prison. Like I got a cousin who calls prison camp because he ain't afraid to go there. Yeah, I know we ain't close, but if I get in trouble, but anyway. What I'm saying is that he may have gotten these tapes, like because he's mentioning these connections, these gangster connections that he and Diddy share, but they don't know one another. It's possible that someone who had the tapes gave them to somebody that they thought was shady enough to destroy them. And they landed with this guy who clearly is in AARP land and he needs to fund his retirement. And so he and his lawyer are trying to get money from Diddy's camp. They don't want the TMZ money. They're trying to get money from Diddy's camp so that they get them because he probably.
But why would you want to get money from somebody who ain't got no money, who can't transfer you no money and can't get no money in your hands right now? It's not making any sense. You know what it's giving me? It's giving me that I wasn't the most popular guy. I got a little bit of change. I purchased this tape from one of my friends that he claimed he knew from all of, these family interactions with the Diddy family and all these writers. Somebody got him to give them a large sum of money and told him, yo, you can go sell it, which is probably 2 or 3rd or 4th or 5th copy. This is what it sounds like to me, because there's nothing in the presentation of how these two people are rolling this concept of having something so valuable out that says to me that it's smart and it's thought out.
Well, but Al, or Your Honor, also remember this. There keep being these leaks about these other people who were recorded as well. So Diddy isn't the only person who might have an interest in buying these tapes. To me, these people stood on those steps because they wanted an audience. They wanted to declare to the world, we have these tapes and we can be paid off.
Yes, that's what they want.
I think the attorney wanted to show off that purse dress she had on. Whatever that was. I had honestly had some Louis Vuitton shoes who wore everywhere, so I know that should be the case. But also, I think that's a good point. Sean. I didn't think about that.
But I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I believe that, because if there's all these people that have gone to these freak-offs or part of these freak-offs or these sex parties, how do we know which tape he has?
Well, no, remember, this thing is, he don't have to have any tape. All right, he could just go to whoever is on the list. I keep saying in the chat, TD Jakes. All right, and just say, hey, I got a tape. You might or might not want to buy this thing that I got. And here's the thing about this. Like I said, here's the thing, by the way, people and you guys in the chat should be ashamed of yourself. All right, because let's be honest. All right, 10 years ago, you would have gone to a Diddy party too. I'm mad he didn't call me. All right, don't act like we wouldn't call.
I went to them.
See,
there it is. There it is.
Not the freak offs.
After all these months of speculation.
Red wine, like, hey.
All right.
I never went. I was a good boy.
Were you invited?
Please.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Dang. I need to hang out with you. I didn't invite me to nothing. That's why I ain't mad he ain't in jail. Damn you, Diddy.
I don't know, something all around about these two, something about how they rolled it out, something in the milk ain't clean, and we're going to find it. All right, everybody, let's keep it going. Next up, Leyland Wayne, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, known to many as Metro Boomin. He's a prominent music producer known for his work in hip-hop. In the lawsuit filed by Vanessa Lamestre, she alleges sexual battery and emotional distress, claiming she was raped in 2016 and became pregnant as a result. but also had an abortion. The lawsuit seeks unspecified damages for her claims, including restitution for emotional distress and the impact of the alleged assault on her life. Attorney Brian Ross, you're our criminal attorney here. Is this a civil case or a criminal case?
This is a civil case because the allegation isn't coming from some government entity, the district attorney, the prosecutor, the attorney general. It's coming after she wants money for the allegation. So it's a civil case.
Got it. And tell me, if it's civil, there's no statute of limitation, regardless of the state?
Rape survivor acts have been creating what's called reach back or look back statutes in different jurisdictions for years. New York and California and New Jersey were some of the first ones, and it's later on gotten to other states. Whether you go way back, survivor statutes sometimes are called. So they're allowed to go way back and look back at what happened.
Excellent. Attorney Turner, talk to me about, if you were Metro Boomin's attorney, what legal defense would you be building right now?
I think his lawyer has a good one from a public opinion one, and it might resonate with the jury, which is he's saying this is a total shakedown, that this is all about money. This ain't true. He denies. He's not admitting anything, and, go away. And so he's also, his lawyer's using strong language, threatening to go for malicious prosecution once he prevails in these against these allegations. And so Metro Boomin is in it to try to win it, and we'll see what happens. To me, it's a little bit sad because she had this tragedy. They became friends. She said they united around the how music can heal. It's like a story that pulled at my heartstrings, but I'm a little bit sensitive these days. So I feel bad that this woman is in this predicament, but at least if you believe Metro Boomin, he did not assault her.
Okay. Attorney Carter?
Yeah, no, I think both the attorneys have summed it up perfectly. I will say a little bit more about the look back statutes is that, as Attorney Ross said, California has gone to a 10 years. So if anything happened within the last 10 years, and in addition to that, they just opened up a 3-year window from 2023 to the end of 2025 that you can go back even further than that.
Wow.
From a civil standpoint. And so obviously, they're trying to, encourage people to come forward and to, there's been a lot of unreported sexual assaults obviously out there. And so that's going to be a thing going forward. The interesting thing about, the Shaton taking the defense is that understand that, they're basically trying to put something on her saying, hey, you can go through with this if you want to, but if you lose, we're going to sue you for everything you got.
Got it. So that might be scaring them.
Yeah, it might. It's an intimidation tactic.
Got it. All right. So let me ask all of you attorneys really quickly this one question. Why is it, and we go through cases every week. We scale, we go through internet, we go through our LexisNexis to try to find celebrity cases every week for our algorithms. Why don't we see, ever since Diddy, what we've seen is an increase in hip hop rap communities of rape and violence and drugs come to the forefront, all these lawsuits? Why aren't we seeing this as it relates to our white entertainers or even our Spanish entertainers?
Wow, that's deep. I don't know. I don't have obviously no empirical data on that. I don't know. I wonder, and this is way out here in left field, right? I wonder if the culture of hip hop, I'm 48, so I'm going to go back to Biggie Smalls, Notorious Big. That's modern hip hop, really. But the culture of hip hop, where sometimes you find yourself degrading women, right? Calling them by the B word, treating them like pieces of meat, throwing money at them in rap videos, pouring champagne in their faces in videos, has led to this culture of acceptance that permeated for decades. And now that culture, right, which is an unstoppable force, slams into an immovable object called awareness. And
Or
the
Me Too
awareness
movement.
comes in. The Me Too movement is just part. There's so many awareness projects today. I mean, I'm a huge college football fan, and you see coaches, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators actively berating these young men for their behavior before they even do it. Just say, pay attention to what you're doing. You're in college now. You're making millions of dollars off NIL. You've got to be aware of what's happening. And so I think that you see that, like I said, unstoppable force merging into an immovable object of awareness, and that unfortunately hip hop, the music of hip hop, which is largely surrounded and created by people who look like me, right, has now become the bed of that existence of awareness. And you have a whole history of young women and probably men really who lived through that clubbing lifestyle to lead to the limousine, to lead to the after parties, to lead to the mansions in LA, because these young men have so much cash that things happened or didn't happen, and now they feel led to come forward. And Diddy's case was at the forefront of that exposure rate. So I think you see that, and that's the problem. I mean,
Got
it. And the solution, right?
Attorney Ross is absolutely right. We all lived through the hip hop culture and are living through it. And I've said this on this show before. Diddy's case is an indictment of the culture. Period. The end. And I would go a step further. Attorney Ross was being really politically correct, and he says some of the songs degrade women. I would say the majority of the songs, if you look back the last like 25 years, have a misogynistic tone where women are viewed as objects to please the men in the video. That's why there's a phrase called the video hose, right? Like, it's funny when I was pregnant with my daughter, my ex-husband, somebody said, you know how you feel about having a little girl? He said, I just want to keep her off the pole. He needs Jesus. But that's true. Like, a lot of
Right.
dads grow up thinking that because that's what girls have been reduced.
Yeah, but now girls want to be on the pole. They find that that's the hottest place because that's where they're going to find the richest men.
Well, that's because they want to get paid, and it's because the glamorization of being an object has really occurred, and you find it permeating even through professional women, like girls in professional school and stuff. There's this competition, and so it needs to be dialed back somewhat. Like, everybody likes to be sexy. Everybody likes to be desired. But the notion of misogyny and how it's glamorized in these lyrics. I mean, we've talked about like how Bankroll Freddy, wasn't that his name? That the reason that he's in trouble is because he rapped about the things that got him convicted. The things that Diddy and them are getting indicted for are in a lot of these songs. I mean, Act Bad. That should not have been his last popular song. It's just going to keep running like an, as
Right.
a reel in this trial. It was a song about glamorizing bad behavior and getting over. And so I don't know what we do about it, but I will say this, because you asked a very pointed question about race and other cultures. Country music doesn't glamorize the objectification of women. They might glamorize like potential suicidal things and people being upset about losing their woman, right? But they're not glamorizing like slapping women and treating them like trash. And similarly, you also don't see that with salsa and Latino music. Our culture seems to be the only one that has chosen that particular glamorization of a certain sub lifestyle. And by doing that, it has amplified it into more of a prominent culture than any of us probably would like it to have. And I think that these cases are saying it's over.
Right. Okay. I think I agree with Kenny Black. Kenny Black said NFL teaches about consent and stuff during training camp for rookies. They've been doing this since 2000. That's correct. And I think that's why you see a lot of less cases in the NFL. And they also do it in the NBA as well. And maybe these record labels, as they sign their people in they're actually, what is it called? Talent and development, when they develop in the talent to show them how to be charismatic, how to command the stage, like how to be an entertainer. They need to also teach them the other side of this type of lifestyle in which they're pretending to be. All right, everybody, it's that time of the show where we go
Let me get
to
one
the
second in there because I'm old and I'm a little older than y'all, and I want to remind you that we didn't start this. And what I mean by that is, I remember a song, and because I went to school in the suburbs, called "Girls, Girls, Girls," and it wasn't by rappers. The rock musicians have been for years. All right, that was part of the lifestyle. That's why they wanted to be in a rock band. If you ask any of those guys from Guns N' Roses or whatever, they'll tell you, I wanted to be in the band so I could have the rapper girls. All right, they weren't throwing champagne on them or whatever, but it was Budweiser, whatever it was. This is not something that's unique to us. What is somewhat different from us is the fact that when the allegations come forward against rappers, they seem more believable, right? But I'd be willing to bet that almost every one of the big stars we have from rock and roll and especially heavy metal and all that are people who have done similar things, have been accused of similar things. Now maybe the victims didn't feel comfortable coming forward because how do you accuse Bruce Springsteen of something like that? All right.
I think though, I would feel like though, I would have to argue, I have to push back on you, that Attorney Carter, because I would think at this point, the same way that they came after Bill Cosby, the same way that they came after Harvey Weinstein, the same way they came after Jeffrey Epstein. I think people, women across the board, white, black, or purple, have gotten this confidence that they can come forward on those artists that have physically abused them or raped them. I think what the difference is in those rock bands, those hard rock bands, those pop bands, yeah, of course they believe in sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but I don't think they believe so much in sex, drugs, rock and roll, and rape. I just don't think that a lot of them are out here ignoring the stop signs as
they
much.
Don't say bitch as much either, because I also, as I'm sure y'all find it hard to believe, had a diverse upbringing and listen to my fair share of rock music. They don't say bitch as much, and so I don't think that they have a monopoly on morality, Attorney Carter. But I do think that they're not glamorizing this subculture as much. But
Right.
You're right. If you look at some of those, that one Aerosmith video that starred the girl from Clueless, Alicia Silverstone, was that her name?
Mm-hmm.
She was like 14, I think, in that video, and they were glamorizing all the things they were going to do to her, and nobody seemed to think that was a problem in like 1992. So they have their issues too. But like the Garth Brooks case that we discussed a few weeks ago, where he's being accused of sexual impropriety, that seems to have been a one-off, and we haven't been having a whole rash of country music stars who've been accused of the same thing. This rapper thing seems to have some energy behind it. So either it's like Bankroll Freddy said, they're only going after him because they're black, or there is something here that as a community we should try to embrace and solve.
And
Yeah, I agree.
I embrace the people.
All right, guys, hold on. We're running up against our time limit here. All right, let's get to our questions. Danielle Cameron at Chaton, do I need to come with my cane to have your back at the polls?
Hey, come with it. If you're around Pittsburgh, please do.
All right, Danielle Cameron said, I feel if the Menendez brothers gain their freedom, they shouldn't be able to profit on the crime once they're free. Will they be able to profit off of the deaths? I'm sure they're going to be able to write a book or something.
Yes. Their interview will do very well.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Danielle Cameron. If they were black is a good question, because what about the kids who grew up in the hood? Can't they argue any crimes they commit is simply PTSD?
They could, but you have to also, I think Attorney Shawn Carter had it correct when he said they have a documentary. So that documentary leads to a momentum of attention, and that helps out. Or you have a family with resources to help you get out of it. So, yeah, there's a lot of people in jail that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, the thing that I always thought about, the question that I had was, as it relates to the poor communities, incest, being abused by your parents, especially in the South, is nothing new. And why don't we use the same empathy that is being exercised here for those victims as well. That's all I'm asking for that. All right. Nowhere says, super random question. Can judges be sued for words and actions during a trial? Only if they break the law, right?
The judges are largely immune from this stuff because as long as they, they're largely immune to it. I mean, it's that'd be hard to do. That'd be hard to do. And if you sue them, you'd be bound by sovereign immunity anyway, so you wouldn't get a bunch of money.
All right, headed to Abby NYC, the MM family,
right, Brian, and try to address that particular issue that somehow their comments interfered with your ability to have a good defense, and you could appeal that issue on its own as an interlocutory one, or you could use it if the result doesn't go in your favor and say that the judge's comments tainted the jury.
Got it. All right, Abby NYC, the MM family said, did the doc give all the stuff excluded? Did the doc give all the stuff excluded? Is that what's more helpful? No. So the doc actually, the first doc that I watched, that was the Menendez Brothers. That doc was actually, from the lawyer standpoint of how they built the case, how it came about, how it unfolded. So that doc had all of the abuse in it. But that particular trial led to a mistrial. And allegedly, the attorney general in California at the time needed some type of conviction because this happened in Beverly Hills, a super wealthy neighborhood, and killings just simply weren't accepted in those rich neighborhoods. All right, Kenny Black, are we not looking for them? Are we not looking for them? Who is Kenny Black referring to?
I don't know.
I don't know. Who was lost?
Are we not looking for them? I don't know. All right, let's keep it moving because we're short for time here. Thank you for your questions. Let's get back to the show here where the lawyers and the judge give their final verdict, whether they're guilty or not guilty. All right, first up, are the Menendez brothers guilty or not guilty of first-degree murder? Attorney Shawn Carter, what say you?
I would say they're guilty, but should be released. Time served, 34 years is certainly more than enough, or enough at least.
All right, Attorney Brian Ross.
Not guilty by way of insanity. I think that they had a mental defect.
Okay, Attorney Chaton Turner.
Not guilty. I'd argue self-defense or mental impairment, as Attorney Ross indicated.
All right, I'm Al Reynolds. I'm the judge here in the Court of Public Opinion, and I'm going to find the Menendez brothers not guilty. All right, next up, George Stephanopoulos. Is he guilty or not guilty of defaming former President Donald Trump? Attorney Chaton Turner, what say you?
Look at that picture. Whatever George Stephanopoulos said was fine. It was, not guilty.
Not guilty. Attorney Brian Ross.
He's guilty.
Well,
George Stephanopoulos is guilty.
George Stephanopoulos is guilty of defaming President Trump.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Attorney Carter, is he guilty or not guilty of defamation?
He is not guilty, but I do want to remind your algoriters, all right? I see a lot of stuff on social media. Y'all might want to take the P out of Trump's name. You can call him a racist, but technically he might sue you if you call him a rapist. You can call him a sexual abuser. That's more accurate.
All right, I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge here in the Court of Public Opinion. And I'm going to find George Stephanopoulos not guilty. Not guilty is charged for defamation. Next up, Bankroll Freddy. Is he guilty or not guilty for drug and firearm offenses, especially linked to gang activity? Attorney Shawn Carter.
He is guilty, and also guilty of the hit song. Which one was it here? Oh yeah, Drip Like This. This is spelled TH, not DIS. All right, guilty for bad spelling.
All right, Attorney Ross.
He's not guilty. It's only marijuana. The whole country wants to move on guns. What did he do? Leave it alone.
What? I can't hear you. You sound like you're asleep. Guilty, not guilty.
He's not guilty. The whole country is moving forward on marijuana, and gun possession is something that the political agenda wants to happen. He doesn't deserve 12 years.
Okay, Attorney Turner, what say you, guilty or not guilty?
He is guilty,
God, bro.
guilty all day long and twice.
All right,
on Sunday.
I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion, and we're going to find Bankroll Freddy guilty. Now, if you're stuck with just the marijuana, you might have had me on your side, but the crack, the meth, and all that other stuff that you were pushing with the gangs is absolutely not good, especially not in our communities. Guilty as charged. All right, next up is Shawn Diddy. No, are the attorneys, is the attorney and her client guilty or not guilty of shopping this sex tape? Shopping these sex tapes. Let's go to you, Attorney Carter.
They are, or they're guilty. I mean, they're definitely shopping it. So I guess it would be guilty. Now, will they get the gag order? Yeah, it's going to be. They're going to be stopped from selling it.
All right, Attorney Ross.
Yeah, they're definitely guilty. But what is he wearing an ascot in his shirt? I don't know what that is.
I don't think is that an S. I don't know if that looks. I don't know what's
some sexiness popping out. I think I can't tell.
Attorney Turner guilty. Attorney Turner guilty or not guilty?
Guilty of gaudy fashion choices as well as improper behavior.
Attorney Ross
guilty.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion, and I'm gonna find them guilty of shady business. It's just something about this is something is not clean, and we're gonna find it out very, very soon. Last but not least, Metro Boomin, is he guilty or not guilty of these sex-related rape charges? Attorney Shawn Carter, what say you?
I don't have enough evidence to say he's guilty, so I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm simply saying that I can't say beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it so far.
All right, Attorney Ross.
Clear and convincing is the standard, I think, on a civil.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I think that he, he's going to have his day in court. So I guess it's up in the air at this point.
All right, Carter, Turner.
I'm going to say not guilty for now. His attorney's strong defense resonates for me right now.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion. I'm going to say he's not guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty. All right, everybody, and this wraps up today's session. Let's remember that the law is complex, and celebrity cases often bring their own unique challenges. Our discussions aim to shed light on these issues and empower you, our viewers, with knowledge. Thank you for watching the Court of Public Opinion tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share of your subscription button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications because the show is changing its name on Wednesday. And come on back so that we can get to your comments in the comment section. Once again, thank you for joining the Court of Public Opinion. Court is now adjourned.